Well, good morning, everyone. We're so glad you're with us. Thank you so much for joining us for this, the 20th Annual Mayor's Celebration of Diversity. We are your hosts. I'm Fanchen Stinger.
And I'm Dan Spieler. Over the last 19 years, this annual event has been held to celebrate diversity in Indianapolis, as well as inclusion in places of employment throughout the city, recognizing local employers who actively demonstrate equity by hiring workers of different races, genders, ages, abilities, and more. Our community continues to strive toward better supporting our diverse populations. And this year, our 20th annual event, the celebration and recognitions will continue as they have for the last 2 decades, while we also highlight the changes our community can make to continue to move forward.
Yeah, the entirety of all the funds raised during this event will benefit Project Indy, Mayor Joe Hogsett's location-based youth employment initiative. You've heard a lot about that. Project Indy connects in and out of school ages 16 to 24 with local employers, organizations, and corporate partners who hold available job opportunities. Now, since 2016, over 15,000 young people have signed up for Project Indy.
There are so many benefits to entering the workforce at a young age, especially for low-income youth. Youth and young adult work experiences teach a deeper understanding of career interests and help to develop important work and life skills like financial literacy, time management, organization, and conflict management. Not to mention, findings from Drexel University show us that individuals who participate in work experiences in their teenage years can earn up to 20 to 25% increase in salary later in life.
That is a significant outcome. And over this next hour, we're going to have a little bit of fun and we're going to honor some really special people. You're going to hear from a variety of advocates for Indianapolis's diverse populations, including employers, also workforce development leaders, and champions of progress. The first of these speakers is the man who launched Project Indy in 2016, providing our community with an integral initiative and giving us all of the opportunity to celebrate diversity today.
It is our honor to introduce Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett.
Welcome to the 20th Annual Mayor's Celebration of Diversity ceremony. For 2 decades now, this event has promoted the idea of a more reflective Indianapolis business and government landscape by celebrating the hardworking residents who are making it happen. Study after study shows us that a diverse institution is more efficient, more responsive, and more credible than one that lacks diversity. Tragically, this past year, COVID revealed the harmful effects of both inequity in our society and a lack of diversity in our institutions. As we emerge from this period, we can't simply return to normal. We must return to better than normal. That's why days of recognition like this one are so important. Today, we will celebrate and get to hear from those who are working to enhance the future on the other side of the pandemic. And it is why Project Indy is committed to making sure young residents have access to the tools for prosperity. By providing early job experience, Project Indy isn't just getting extra money into the pockets of young adults, it is providing an on-ramp toward a profession, a good wage, and a solid foundation to excel and advance. That is especially true for the thousands of young people of color who have taken advantage of this program. As always, my thanks to Employ Indy and the organizers of this event. Thanks also to upcoming keynote speaker DeJuan McCoy for sharing his insight. And thanks to all of tonight's honored guests and speakers. A new and better normal is coming for the city of Indianapolis, and it starts with a celebration of diversity. I thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor Hogsett, for sharing with us today the exciting and ensuring the production of this event continues after 20 years. A lot of excitement still to come, and we also would like to thank all of the individuals listening in on this event today who purchased tickets, sponsorships, and donated to our cause. But we have not yet met our goal today. Our goal, Dan, is to raise $100,000 for all the young people in our community. That's a no-brainer. And it's not too late. You can actually donate right now by simply clicking the donate button to the right of your screen, and we will be able to watch
Maybe just
live.
over here?
Yeah, as those tabulations continue to grow.
Thank you for your further consideration in donating to Project Indy. As you know, our objective today is to raise money for Project Indy, but our goal is also to inspire your business to become more equitable and more diverse. Our next presenters are leaders of Indy's workforce and economic development, Employ Indy and the Indy Chamber, close partners who serve both the businesses of our community and Indianapolis residents. As Marion County's Workforce Development Board, Employ Indy guides the local workforce ecosystem and makes strategic investments to remove barriers to quality employment for underserved and underrepresented residents. Employ Indy also oversees Project Indy, helping to provide young people with the necessary experiences and skills to be successful in the workforce.
Yeah, and also the Indy Chamber serves as a huge voice of progress and improvement in our region. As many of you know, is uniting business and community to maintain a strong economy and quality of life. This organization provides resources for members of the business community seeking to improve their workplace, whether that means engaging various sectors of the workforce, building a business from the ground up, or finding the perfect spot for organizations to relocate and become anchor institutions throughout the Indianapolis area. The Chamber's advocacy efforts, networking events, and economic development initiatives diligently position members, business leaders, and our community as a whole for long-term success.
So right now, please join us in welcoming Angela Carr-Klitsch, President and CEO of Employ Indy, and Michael Huber, President and CEO of the Indy Chamber, to share some insight on the importance of inclusive hiring practices and prioritizing diversity in the workplace.
Hi, I'm Michael Huber from the Indy Chamber, and we want to thank all of you for joining the 20th Annual Mayor's Celebration of Diversity. These awards are incredibly important to Indy Chamber and to me, not only because they celebrate those employers who have been the most committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion within their own workplaces, but they also help illuminate all of the tools and resources and organizations doing great work in Indianapolis who can help businesses who want to make progress in the areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as always, it's an honor to be here with Angie Carr-Klitsch.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks for the support of the Indy Chamber for Project Indy. I'm incredibly grateful that all proceeds from today's event support Project Indy, the Mayor's Youth Employment Initiative. Through the Project Indy digital platform, thousands of Marion County youth and young adults are connected to employment every year. This tool is used by more than 100 employers who are seeking to fill full-time and part-time positions, and of course the youth who are looking for employment. You know, similar to our experiences over the past year, the young people served through Project Indy have seen devastating repercussions as a result of COVID-19.
And what can you even say about the last year and a half? I mean, for the whole world, let alone for our own Indianapolis. It disrupted the economy in ways none of us could have predicted, but we also know that the virus and the economic impacts had a disproportionate impact on people of color around the world, but of course in our own Indianapolis. And if you zoom in on Indianapolis, it's a good time to remind ourselves that over 178,000 of our residents in our own Marion County still live below the poverty line. That's a shocking number, no matter who you are. And a recent study by the IU School of Informatics and Computing at IUPUI drilled down on zip codes within Indianapolis that had been hit especially hard by the virus. These are zip codes that have a high level of diversity, where we have a lot of youth who we want to encourage to go back and get their high school equivalency and things like that. So it's a great time as the economy opens up and employers start hiring for employers to think about how can I get more diverse but also reach people in need to the maximum benefit of our economy. Another reason why these Mayor's Celebration of Diversity Awards are so important.
Definitely. And through our partnership with Skillful, an initiative of the Markle Foundation, we've learned that inclusive hiring really starts with skills-based hiring practices. Skills-based hiring reduces bias during the hiring process, and that instead of using credentials or certifications or educational attainment levels, you're looking for someone who can perform the necessary functions of the job.
And we've learned a lot about skills-based hiring from Angie and from the Employ Indy organization, and we're talking more and more to employers about skills-based hiring because, of course, there's a time for degrees and certifications, and sometimes those are important, but a recent study that Angie shared with me shows us that 74% of otherwise qualified applicants oftentimes get eliminated from consideration by degree requirements that businesses set up that they don't really need. If businesses took more of a skills-based hiring, they would be opening themselves up to a bigger pool of qualified applicants. Also, there are shocking numbers that show us that as many as 30% of qualified applicants for the jobs get eliminated from consideration due to different types of bias. So right now we're seeing a great opportunity, especially with the growth in the economy, for employers to really learn more about skills-based hiring, about how bias may be impacting the talent pool. And again, that's another reason why we're so grateful to be a part of these awards.
Definitely. And you don't have to be a CEO like Michael or I to change the culture of your workplace. Here at Employ Indy, our Chief Financial Officer, Tahia Harding, has stepped up to create an affinity group representative of several lines of business that really focuses on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And so Tahia Harding will share a little bit more of what we're doing here at Employ Indy.
Thanks, Angie and Michael. I'm so excited about the DEIB efforts within Employ Indy. In 2019, the senior leadership and executive staff attended a workshop, Undoing Bias and Systemic Racism, which served as a catalyst for our DEIB efforts within Employ Indy as an organization. In early 2020, I assembled a team of Employ Indy staff members made up of individuals with multicultural, multi-generational, and diverse backgrounds, which was committed to helping Employ Indy become an anti-racist and multicultural institution. As Angie mentioned, the members of our group are varying levels of the organization, and it just proves that you do not have to be in a leadership role to be a leader, or in a position of power to be powerful and to incite change. But you do have to be willing to have difficult conversations. You will feel uncomfortable at times, but you have to be consistent and persistent. Our mission statement is to create a diversified, equitable, inclusive, and belonging workplace environments within our ecosystem and create an authentic community. Using this mission statement, our affinity group has met bi-weekly to achieve certain goals, measurable outcomes, create an anti-racist statement and action plan that shows that we are committed to have equitable policies, diversifying our hiring practices, having more professional development opportunities, and an inclusive workplace environment. Our organization also meets monthly to have conversations around white privilege, microaggressions, mental health, and other topics that affect people of color and other disenfranchised groups within our organization and the community. This is not an easy task. There's no magical fix, and there's no right answer. However, it is willingness by the community and by the staff that it can be achieved. And I highly recommend you to take this opportunity and have an affinity group within your organization that's dedicated and committed to lead the effort. It is a lot of hard work. However, it has given our staff the opportunity to speak our truth, to embrace and understand each other's struggles and strengths, and also celebrate our differences. So again, I applaud and appreciate the efforts of our total affinity and DEIB group at Employ Indy, and thanks for attending the Mayor's Celebration of Diversity and helping promote belonging.
We want to thank you, Ms. Harding, for sharing your experience as a champion for Employ Indy, as well as Angie Carklich and also Micah Huber for sharing their knowledge and expertise in promoting inclusion in the workplace.
All right, soon we are going to give out our first award of the day, but first we want to take a moment to celebrate diversity in Indianapolis. This next video you're about to see wouldn't be possible without our silver sponsors, One America and the Central Indiana Community Foundation.
We want to thank you for your sponsorship, and now please enjoy our tribute to the diverse workers in our community and some of the employers who value a diverse workplace culture and provide inclusive opportunity to all residents.
This is what an inclusive and diverse workforce looks like. A workplace where you can be your authentic self, share new ideas that are guided by diverse perspectives, gain key insights to foster innovation. Together, we're a community that celebrates diversity, equity, and inclusion in our workforce. These are the building blocks that make our city better. that drive us forward, that promote honesty and integrity and push us to evaluate our actions, bringing out the best in all of us. Positive growth in our community starts with quality job opportunities that promote a more inclusive hiring culture, a culture that celebrates uniqueness, where diverse perspectives are valued and implemented. This is critical to forming an ecosystem that guides market innovation that's representative of the community it serves. Bringing together people with different backgrounds, experiences, abilities, and ideas is not only important for our growth as individuals, but essential for the betterment of our community. With growth comes promise. Promise that our city will be an invitation for future generations to work together, thrive, and belong. A better tomorrow doesn't build itself. It takes thousands of people and businesses across our city to influence change for the next generation of job seekers. Because of our actions today, progress is being made. But there's much more work to be done. What will you do to keep Indianapolis moving forward?
All right, once again, thank you to our silver sponsors for making this video possible. It's wonderful to see what our community can accomplish by uniting workers from all walks of life.
That's right. We want to keep this celebration of diverse workers and employers going right now. It is time. This is always the exciting part of the program.
Right.
It is time to present our very first award of the day, the Diversity in Leadership Award. I'd like to take a moment to thank our award sponsors, Indeed, who have made this award possible, as well as the upcoming award categories, including Diversity in Workforce, Excellence in Youth Employment, and the Sam H. Jones Best of the Best. The Diversity in Leadership Award will celebrate an organization that cultivates an atmosphere of growth, particularly when considering upper-level diversity as well as actively supporting a diverse organizational culture.
Yeah, this year's winner is committed to cultivating a self-sustaining culture that fosters equitable inclusion and diversity in all aspects of the business and optimizes organizational performance and engagement by ensuring that people feel respected and valued. This employer prioritizes world-class service that includes a diverse and competent workforce as well as diverse leadership that puts their staff and customers first.
And this year's Diversity in Leadership Award goes to the Indianapolis Airport Authority.
Congratulations to the Indianapolis Airport Authority, and thank you for ensuring that our diverse workers have advancement opportunities, leadership roles, and the chance to feel valued and appreciated in their careers.
And speaking of leaders in our community, next up, we're going to hear from Kelly Jones, the co-founder of the Be Nimble Company. Be Nimble is a social enterprise taking a qualitative and quantitative approach to creating fully diverse and inclusive tech ecosystems. The career training and placement programs upskill unemployed, underemployed, and career transitioners who are interested in careers within the tech industry. These entrepreneurship programs support Black and Latina tech startup founders by connecting them to the resources, support, and funding they need to build high-growth, high-scale tech companies.
Yeah, today, Kelly Jones is going to speak about the benefit of prioritizing diversity, equity, and inclusion practices in the workplace. Kelly?
$2.6 trillion. This number represents the growing loss of GDP from racial and gender disparities in 2019 alone. $70 trillion. The estimated loss of GDP over 30 years in gender and racial disparities. At what point do we say diversity not only makes business sense, social sense, but human being decency? I'm Kelly Jones, co-founder of Be Nimble Foundation and general partner of 68 Capital. I've dedicated my life and my work to seeing more Black, brown, women, LGBTQ founders and talent find their place in the tech industry. When we look at the racial disparities, the gender gaps, employability, the number of diverse people being hired and staying at companies, these numbers have been the same for decades. We know diversity makes business sense. We know that bottom lines are increased. We know that marketing teams and product teams are building better products with more inclusivity. We know that businesses are going to make more money. We know having a home and a place where you get to come to work every day is made that much better when you see representation. However, day after day, we continue to struggle with the same things that we've been working on for years. Today is a new day. Today means that we have the opportunity to make change now. The last year and a half has been dramatically different for our entire world. But the issues around diversity and inclusion were exposed, especially in the Black community. If we want to see change, it is important that employers, government, business, private and public sector dedicate their resources to ensuring that women, Black, Brown, Latinx, Asian American, LGBTQIA, every group has the same opportunity to the same things as our white counterparts. We know diversity is good for business. We know diversity is good for the bottom line. We know diversity is good for the things that we're looking to build and the businesses we create. But at what point do we stop being negligent and make decisions to make that change now? My favorite thing is talking to businesses and really having the opportunity to share the impact of diverse businesses and diverse employees. The question I often get is, well, how do I find diverse talent? You know, we have no problem finding diverse talent, but we have a hard time making sure that they stay. What is it that we can do to ensure that we are being an open culture, a culture that's representative and welcoming to people? And here's the feedback I usually give. Diversity and inclusion is important. Equity is more important. And belonging is what makes everything that much better. It's nothing to recruit diverse talent and get them interested in the brand and the company that you are. You can get them hired, they can come into your business. You can make them feel a part of the team. You can give continuous feedback. But if they don't feel like they have a place in the place that they work, every day, their want to make that job, that business, that organization better will continue to fall. So our work in this space has to be more than giving a seat at the table. Our work going forward has to be focused on giving a seat at the table, giving them a plate, giving them a knife and fork, and asking them, what would you like to eat? If we don't choose to make those changes, we will never see the growth and diversity that we need. So for any employer out there looking for talent, come to organizations like Be Nimble. For people looking to find ways to invest in more diverse founders, feel free to reach out to us at 68 Capital. But in order for us to have the impact that we really need to have for our community, you have to decide that you want to not only build a seat at the table, but you want to allow people to eat at that table as well. It's more than diversity and inclusion. It's about belonging. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for talking and giving us more information about Be Nimble and the work that you're doing to eliminate barriers preventing achievements for people of color.
Yeah, Kelly, thank you so much for being with us today. Okay, the time has now come for the presentation of our second award, the Excellence in Youth Employment Award. This award is given to an organization that's shown commitment to offering young adults here in Indianapolis opportunities for their first job while also embracing a culture that promotes personal growth through mentoring and advancement.
This year's recipient actually supports young workers through their Pathways program, which introduces students from diverse neighborhoods to the working environment of financial services while offering mentorship opportunities and also building the students' career readiness. This program is just one example of how this year's winner is committed to the development of the young people and young adults of Indianapolis.
And we are happy to announce that this year's winner of the Excellence in Youth Employment Award is One America.
Congratulations to One America. We deeply appreciate your dedication to the future workforce of Indianapolis.
Okay, our next speaker is Pamela Ross, the Central Indiana Community Foundation's first Vice President of Opportunity, Equity, and Inclusion. With over 25 years experience, Pamela leads the organization's internal process of ensuring equitable policies and practices are operationalized and exemplified in all work of the foundation. She's also responsible for leading CICF's organizational initiatives that support increased equity, inclusive economic growth, and racial awareness in Central Indiana. Pam?
Hello, my name is Pamela Ross. I am the Vice President of Opportunity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Central Indiana Community Foundation. As many of you may know, a few years ago, CICF changed its mission to mobilize people, investments, and ideas to create a more equitable Central Indiana where everyone has an opportunity to reach their full potential, no matter their place, race, or identity. So each day, my job is to help lead and support CICF in becoming an anti-racist, multicultural organization. Today's world requires innovative, bold, and strategic leaders who will truly put equity and inclusion at the same level of importance as profit. And although that may be hard to imagine or even unrealistic, it is very important that we understand we can no longer say that we are committed to racial equity. We are committed to having an equitable culture and organization without understanding that it has to elevate to one of the highest level of priorities in our everyday jobs. This requires hiring managers that are not only committed to a diverse workforce, but the brilliance that each person brings when they say yes to the job that we are offering them. That their lived experiences and what they understand about culture in this world is looked at equally as important as their talent. I have been asked to speak to you today regarding building a culture centered on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I would not make these suggestions in a place of actually being, the top expert in this city or in this country. But I have learned a lot in my work at CICF through the experiences that we have had in building a culture and are still trying to build a culture around. One of the top things I have learned from the very beginning is that leadership matters. Leadership is intrinsically, significantly important to building an equitable culture. It is extremely important in any efforts to dismantle systemic racism. I am often asked and have been asked for the 3 years that I've been in this position, how do you do this work if your leadership is not on board? And my answer remains consistent. You can't. And so although we can hold our ground or we can make our changes within our seats, and there is more of that happening, but to really get the work done and effectively get the work done and make it even a little slightly less exhausting than it already is, leadership has to be committed to it. Diversity must become a given. Diversity cannot be something that we do for the sake of diversity, meaning we want to have more people of color, more people from marginalized communities come into our organizations, but we don't make them feel welcomed. We don't make sure that they know that they belong, and we definitely don't bring their voice into the conversations regarding change and the way that we do things. So having more people of color can be harmful if you're not an organization that is bringing them into a welcoming environment and honoring them in their full selves. Commitment has to be made to creating the space that allows really difficult conversations to take place. So whether that's through the way that your organization has decided to learn more equitable practices, or it's creating space that simply allows staff to have critical conversations and bring in perspective and sometimes even pain around what is happening around our city and our country. We had many of those conversations in 2020 and even before, but they became so much more relevant, so much more real in 2020. And now they are a part of the way that we work in several different ways that I won't share in this short time, but it is a part of our culture. We will have critical conversations. That is an expectation, and it's not easy to do. With that, speaking of, we have to be a place or continuously be a culture where risk is not present in the essence of voice. So when people do speak up, when people do share, and always with respect, being in that place, but that the passion, which sometimes, we learn could show up as tone, but the voice that is needed is often silence because risk is so present. So we have to be really cognizant and clear about the fact that when we ask people to speak and we ask them to share, that it is our responsibility, especially as leaders, but culturally, to make sure that risk is not a component of that. That people are not losing their jobs for sharing. You can't have an equitable culture while you're also having people who feel like they have to be silenced for the risk of losing their job. One of my favorite quotes that I have visible to me every single day is from Nelson Mandela, and that is that fools multiply when wise men are silent. So if we want this equitable culture, we are going to have to be wise men and women. The second is power. The power is one of the means of how structural and systemic racism continues to perpetuate. And so in an organization, we absolutely have hierarchical systems. But we also have to be very aware of how the power dynamics go into how decisions are made, meaning, again, going back to voice. If you're going to ask someone to share their thoughts, which we should be, and through the essence of power, we don't honor that voice in making a different decision. And it doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't mean that it would happen every single time, but power has to be something that we're consistently aware of, how we navigate it, how we share it, and how it is used organizationally as well to influence the right thing in other spaces. But power is very, very important to the work and often never spoke of. And finally, you really need to be looking at your internal systems and your practices. And that too often, in order to make a change or a difference, we feel like it's going to take a lot of time. And what we learned definitely in the time of COVID-19 and the pandemic, a lot of pivotal moves were made, and they were made swiftly. And those things were made because they were necessary. And if we could do it in that time, then we can still do it. So at CICF, what we've learned is if we did it then we have to continue to practice that. And so it also showed us that sometimes it's just make a different decision. And so that is something that we have to be very tuned into, is our own internal systems, policies, and practices. And where can a different decision be made that will create that culture that we desire that is more equitable? Those are just a few things, but top of mind, without just those few things, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to become an equitable organization. So I would leave you with knowing that this is hard work. This work requires accountability. This work requires trust. It requires a lot of courage, and it requires, without a doubt, a lot of hope. My hope for you today is that you gain some insights, some top insights into building a culture that is equitable. And I was recently in a racial equity training where we were told that this work requires us to be mind-numbingly consistent, meaning this is not something that you can put on the table and then walk away from for even a moment. You have to be consistently in this work, mindful of it, mindful of distractions, mindful of barriers, and mindful of your own personal biases and where you are in it. I want to thank Employee Indy and the staff for asking me to be a part of sharing, and I do hope that what I have shared with you has been beneficial.
Pam, thank you so much for talking to us about what you and CICF are doing right now to build culture, to fight systemic racism, and how other organizations can join your efforts. Again, we would not be here today if it were not for the generous support of our sponsors. So I'd like to take a quick moment to acknowledge our bronze sponsors. Thank you so much for making today's event possible.
All right, up next, we're going to see an interview from another local leader developing diverse pipelines of workers and the founder of the Latinas Welding Guild, Consuelo Poland. The Latinas Welding Guild works daily to empower Latinas and women by providing the tools and experience to join the welding industry.
We're a local nonprofit that focuses on providing affordable training to women who are low to moderate income who want to either enter the workforce or start their entrepreneurship journey. Hi, my name is Consuelo Lockhart, and I'm the founder and executive director of the Latinas Welding Guild. I founded the Latinas Welding Guild in October 2017 because there's a huge shortage of welders in the industry, but more so there's more of a demand for women to enter the industry itself. When I was done with school, I didn't know what I was going to do with my creative degree, and I was lucky enough to do some welding while I was still in school for a project. And just based on that short experience I had, I really wanted to pursue welding and fabricating as a career. I wanted to create a safe space for all women to learn the skill and not worry about having either sexual harassment, some ignorant comments, or racial issues that can happen in the workforce. We've been working really hard at trying to eliminate barriers like language, social, economic, so women from all backgrounds, ages, languages can come in and learn how to weld. We were fortunate enough to work with the mayor's office on developing 2 proclamations. Here in Indianapolis, we were able to do Women in Welding Month here that was celebrated by the city. And then we also were able to get a Latinas in Welding Week, which was the first week in April, which was a very big moment for our group. We've had several successes. So one being we have served 62 women here in Indianapolis. We've had 26 women get certified. And over the last year during COVID, we've actually been able to still keep our program running and have actually gotten busier. So last year we had about 17 fabrication projects, which has been the most we've ever had to do in one season. So I would encourage local employers here in Indianapolis to take an opportunity to listen and possibly hire on women and other minorities and let them have the opportunity to continue to grow their skill, become financially independent, because the women that I've seen grow over the last couple years are hardworking, they're trustworthy, they're very honest, and they genuinely care about doing a great job.
Thank you so much, Consuelo, for speaking with us today, giving us more insight. You know, it is amazing to hear firsthand from a leader who actually understands the experiences of the women she is serving. Consuelo's work is the perfect transition for our next award, Dan, the Diversity in Workforce Award. This award celebrates an organization who in the past year successfully implemented best practices to support workforce diversity, promoting opportunities for employees to engage and recognize diversity within their place of business.
Yeah, you know, this year's winner has spent the past year partnering with a number of local organizations to increase their diversity in hiring across the company, implementing interview strategies to reduce any potential bias when evaluating candidates. The organization has also ensured their leadership team has gone through implicit bias training and has prioritized the development of its employees through supporting educational initiatives, encouraging employees to continue education and grow in their career.
So, a very big congratulations right now going out to this year's winner of the Diversity in Workforce Award, Archimed LLC.
Well deserved.
That's right.
To everyone there at Archimed. All right, let's kick it back now over to Employee Indy's president and CEO, Angela Carr-Klitsch, to explain more about Project Indy as we continue to raise money for the program that employs thousands of youth here in Indianapolis. Angie?
Hello again, and thank you for supporting youth in our community and the future of Indianapolis. All proceeds from today's event go directly to connecting young people to jobs as part of the Mayor's Youth Employment Initiative, Project Indy. Project Indy is housed at Employ Indy, the Workforce Development Board for Marion County, and a 501c3 nonprofit. Since its launch in 2016, Project Indy has connected more than 15,000 youth and young adults to local jobs. Youth can go online, sign up, and search for employment that's close to their home or their school. And a network of 100 employers are posting jobs daily on Project Indy. Your support is essential for us to continue to run this important program that connects youth to their first job. Please donate now on the button on your screen so that we can continue to ensure that our young people have access to those work experiences and are prepared for the future workforce. Your contributions will help us achieve our $100,000 fundraising goal. When the pandemic hit, youth and young adults ages 16 to 24 were twice as likely as their adult counterparts to be unemployed. And exacerbating conditions pre-existing to the pandemic, people of color and minorities have been disproportionately impacted by unemployment, housing insecurity, and food insecurity. A study by the Brookings Institute shows us that youth work experiences and post-secondary completion lead to higher job quality later on in life, particularly for disadvantaged populations. That's why Project Indy prioritizes youth employment. Our young residents need work experiences now to kickstart a pathway to a career and a future of financial stability. The Mayor's Celebration of Diversity Awards is the primary funder of Project Indy. Your support is greatly appreciated as we continue this important program in the future.
Angie, thank you so much for being with us today. And I also want to say thank you to all of you who are sending in donations. It's exciting to see those donations grow, so keep them coming. We are nearing the end of today's event, but it is still not too late, as I just said, to donate. And as Angie said, you can donate by clicking the button to the right of your video screen.
That is over here. Thank you so much for your contributions. We really appreciate it. We want to introduce Ava Taylor right now, the Manager of Planning and Development for the Office of Minority and Women Business Development with the City of Indianapolis, which helps to ensure equal opportunities for local business owners.
The Office of Minority and Women Business Development is committed to serving businesses owned by minorities, women, veterans, and people with disabilities. In this role, Ava has been instrumental in planning the Mayor's celebration of diversity for the past 5 years. So, Ava, take it away.
Greetings, and thank you again for joining us for today's Mayor's Celebration of Diversity. My name is Ava Taylor, and I am the Manager of Planning and Development for the Office of Minority and Women Business Development, also known as the OMWBD. The OMWBD has been an integral part of planning the Mayor's celebration since its inception in 2001. 20 years ago, former Mayor Bart Peterson developed this celebration to recognize local businesses and organizations that prioritize inclusivity in the workplace. In my current role, I've been a part of the planning since 2016, and among my duties, I lead the award selection committee and have had the distinct pleasure of learning about all of the great progress happening in our city's places of work. And I can say that this year's selection of nominees has truly put in the work, and choosing the winner was not at all an easy task. I'd like to congratulate each and every one of today's nominees and winners. As I have seen this celebration grow over the past 5 years, I have also watched our community grow, as well as the residents and businesses in it. We must not lose momentum. We must continue to fight for equitable opportunities for all of Indianapolis. Our next speaker has been a fearless advocate for this cause and has made admirable strides as a business owner, employer, and has been a role model in our community. It is my great honor to introduce today's keynote speaker, owner, president, and Chief Executive Officer of Circle City Broadcasting, Mr. DeJuan McCoy.
You know, it's such a time, you know, this space in the world and businesses, but diversity and inclusion is something that has kind of gone to the forefront, but you've been about that for a long time.
I've been about diversity and inclusion ever since I can remember. But more so today and since I've owned TV stations. When I first purchased TV stations back in 2007, I didn't know it, but I became the first African American to own a Fox affiliate in Texas and purportedly the entire country. And I had 2 of them. And I didn't know it, but a journalist called me who has been tracking the industry forever and said, "Hey, do you know you're the first and the only black guy to own a TV station, Fox affiliate?" I said, "Oh, wow." And he also said to me, "Do you know what responsibility comes with that?" And I said, "Yes, I do." So from that point up until now and throughout my ownership career, I've always moved diversity, equity, and inclusion to the forefront of what I do. So when you are the only, whether you're the only white, the only black, or only Hispanic, there becomes a responsibility to do well at whatever you're doing so that you can bring other people up to follow you.
Let's talk about the root of that, because that doesn't just come overnight. That really comes with upbringing. It comes with the story that got you to the story that you are now. Tell me a little bit about you and what got you to that point to understand that responsibility.
So I think it has a lot to do with upbringing. I think it has a lot to do with foundation, being taught the golden rule, growing up after the Dr. Martin Luther King era, where a lot of his speeches were helping other people do big stuff and lifting unfortunate people or less fortunate people up. So that just became part of what I learned growing up, what I was taught by my mom, and what I still do today. When I first purchased Wish TV, I'll give you an example. When I first purchased Wish TV, which was back in September of 2019, I had my first department head meeting. And in the department head meeting, 95% of the people sitting around that desk were white males. The first thing that I said, we got to diversify this meeting. Diversify the meeting first, then after we diversify the meeting, we need to start hiring more diverse people to primarily give a different perspective, okay? For me, diversity, equity, and inclusion is about perspective. And what I've learned throughout my life is not everybody sees the world from the same set of goggles, okay? And in the workplace, I think it's very, very important to have those diverse opinions within your organization, particularly when you own a television station. Why? Because television stations represent not just one facet of the community, but the entire community as a whole. And last time I checked, we live in a very diverse community here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And for that matter, every market in America is a diverse market.
It's so interesting to me because the business of media is really a microcosm of how the world works. Any business really kind of goes off of some of the same trends. And you can go to market to market. I mean, you've been in this business for a very long time, and you see that there is an extreme lack of diversity, even though the people that we're serving don't look a lot of times like the newsrooms that are serving them. And so those different perspectives, what's been the reaction to getting those different perspectives?
So for me, being the only active black owner of TV station, meaning I'm involved in the day-to-day activity, I can speak from experience, and I don't speak from a corporate hat. I speak from a personal experience hat, and the fact that this is my company and it's my responsibility as an owner to do something about the lack of diversity. So when I tell employees, hey, you know what, we don't have a lot of diversity here, it's no fault of theirs that there's no diversity here. It's just the fact that nobody's been taught or nobody's brought it to the awareness of the people that can make decisions to make an organization more diverse. So with me being a diverse owner, I automatically get that. It's important to challenge my managers to not hire from a comfort standpoint, meaning hiring people that look like them, but to get an extra interview. And if you do have a good white candidate, don't tell them no, but keep looking for a diverse candidate so that you can expand your perspective on how you're delivering news product.
And you know, some people feel like if they just check a box to get a certain kind of person into a role, then that counts as diversity. But from your philosophy on this, it's much deeper than that, correct?
We don't check boxes, okay? We hire the best talent for the job, and we stretch to find a diverse talent because that's what we're supposed to do, okay? We're trying to make our television station look like the community. When I tell my managers, I want you to hire the best person for the job, but if you get a tie and you have a diverse candidate and a non-diverse candidate, okay, I think the tie, if you're in the need of a diverse candidate, needs to go to that diverse candidate. So we're not playing special favors or anything like that. You still have to compete for the job, but if there's a tie, the diverse candidate with me wins.
It's interesting because you speak with people, just regular folks in the community, right? And they would say that many businesses, many big Fortune 500 businesses, many local businesses are decades behind in this type of practice, which now is making diversity and inclusion that much more important here in 2021. Are you seeing that from your end of things?
Yeah, I've always seen it because hiring managers typically naturally hire people that look like them, act like them, sound like them, and think like them. And most hiring managers, unfortunately, are non-diverse people, okay? So when diverse people get in a position to hire, okay, it is a responsibility of theirs to try to hire diverse candidates to make the perspective that much more broader, because that's what's needed, particularly in media. Okay, and that's the case in every company, because if you're running a company and you have one train of thought, one perspective, one cultural perspective, you're missing a lot of customers out there, because not everybody, again, thinks the same way or reacts the same way.
What would your advice be to someone who might look at themselves and say, okay, I have inadvertently fallen into this pattern of always hiring the same type of person, just like my mentor taught me. What are some of the things that they need to do in their free time to make sure that they're making their company and their workplace environment better?
When you educate yourself on other people's culture, okay, it helps you have context and a perspective on how other people think, so that when you're communicating with those multicultural people, you are more empathetic and you have a better understanding of their thought process. When I say context, having context, if you can understand where a person comes from and what their foundation was, that opens up the door for better communications and better feedback back and forth. Because what I think we're going through now in America is a reckoning where diversity, equity, inclusion has been moved to the forefront, and now people are talking about it, okay? The people that don't want to talk about it, those are the people that don't want diversity, equity, and inclusion, okay? But now that we're talking about it on a regular basis, I think we can educate people on other people's culture, and I think we can slowly chip away at the problems that we've had with communication and educating people on other people's culture, because everywhere you turn today, it's in the news, okay? So it's forcing people to listen and learn throughout the day every time they turn the TV on, which is a beautiful thing. Because last time I checked, once you can educate yourself on whatever the topic is, you're gonna become more smarter. And as it relates to the human being, having context and being educated on how somebody thinks is a beautiful thing in the workplace.
And obviously this is an ongoing journey. If you could talk to yourself 20 years ago or even 30 years ago, with all the knowledge that you have now, what would you tell yourself that you've learned from your journey thus far?
Don't play the victim role, play the warrior role. Meaning, instead of looking for excuses of why somebody didn't do something, you as an individual have to figure out what can you do to change that person's perspective. But don't dwell on that person looked at me because I was black, or that person looked at me because I was Hispanic and didn't give me the job. You got to change it around. You got to figure out what you can do to get that job, okay? And as long as you use your race or your diversity as a crutch, the more difficult you're going to have growing and prospering and reaching your goals. Because let's face it, there are people that always will have unconscious biases out there, for a fact, okay? But they can't control the way you process their information. The way you process your information, okay, is totally between your ears and up to you. So that is, for me, not playing the victim role, but playing the warrior role and looking for a solution to the problem versus dwelling on the problem to try to get to a solution.
It's been interesting too. I've spoken to a lot of older people. You know, they always have so much wisdom, and a lot of wisdom, whether you want it or not, right?
That's right.
And you know, my grandma actually said this. She said, now more than ever, people are showing who they are more quickly. So they're actually doing you a favor, because now you're able to see a lot better where you might be able to thrive rather than survive.
That's correct.
And so what would your advice be to those who are on the other side, the C-suite people, the owners of companies, about how this has really changed how recruitment is going to work from this point forward?
Yeah, this is really, really good. This whole diversity, equity, inclusion phase, I hope it doesn't stop, okay? I was reading a book, and they were talking about one of the things that prevents blacks and others from continuing the fight. And that clinical phrase was coined as racial battle fatigue. And as a corporate owner, I can't get racial battle fatigue, meaning I can't go play the victim. I have to continue to be the warrior. When I speak to other white CEOs and other CEOs that are friendly, they love talking to me more now because I'm educating them on diversity, equity, inclusion like they've never done before. Because when diversity, equity, inclusion stays in the media and stays in the news and stays top of mind, what I found is owners and CEOs seek out diverse opinions. They seek out help. They seek out Dwan McCoy's advice. Dwan, what do you feel about this? Whereas before, I wasn't getting the call. Okay, I wasn't getting the opportunity to give my perspective to these CEOs. Now they're listening. I got a buddy that owns a bunch of television stations, and he says, Dwan, we've been talking once a week for the last 6 months, and I can't believe how much I've grown as it relates to diversity, equity, inclusion. Your perspective, I'd never thought about that before, okay? So the advice that I would give to other CEOs, other hiring managers, is to seek out opinions from trustworthy, diverse individuals. Call them up, ask them their opinion, and take their opinion seriously, because when you ask a diverse individual about their opinion, you are asking for their perspective, okay? And that will help you, I believe, overall during this entire diversity, equity, and inclusion period. And again, frankly speaking, I hope it doesn't stop, because I think it's healthy and I think it needs to continue.
When you were speaking, it made me think of a quote that I really like. I have no idea who said it. My pastor was the one who told me. And it was, it's something to have the opportunity of a lifetime, but you have to strike during the lifetime of the opportunity. And that's what I'm hearing, you know, even about your experience. It sounds like we really haven't seen a time like this.
No, we haven't. Not in our lifetime, but if you talk to older folks, they would say this is akin to the civil rights movement, but there are more media outlets out there to make it more of a mainstream conversation, whereas before the civil rights movement, if there was only 4 networks, and 5 newspapers, that was the deliverer of the message. Now you have a lot of different platforms that are sharing the ideas and sharing the conversation, and it just needs to continue. 4 years from now, I still want to be talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay? Why? Because I think there's so much growth and so much opportunity there. I can tell you, I can still count on one hand how many black owners there are of television stations. On one hand, 1, 2, 3. That's it. Okay? So, and it's not too late. Okay? There are a lot of opportunities out there for African Americans and diverse people to get into ownership and to have an impact on their communities.
And in turn, when it comes to even right here in Indianapolis, right? Say statistically, we've seen so many more people coming out of the pandemic, owning their own businesses, trying to create their own legacies. So, you know, what would be your advice to them in terms of this? Because obviously there's a lot of change that could be on the horizon.
I would just say keep following your dreams, and if it took the pandemic for you to decide to own your own business, that's God speaking to you. And I think you need to continue to follow your dreams and go forward, because we need more diversity in ownership of all types of businesses. We need more diversity in leadership positions in America, in all types of positions. Why? Because that's the makeup and soon to be the majority of America. I'll give you one statistic. In the year 2060, by the year 2060, 56% of America is supposed to be brown. 56% of America is supposed to be brown. That's with the immigration and the changing landscape of America. So if you're not up to speed on diversity and inclusion now, you're going to be behind the times as this wave of multiculturalism continues to sweep not only Indianapolis, but sweep America.
We all have a responsibility. That's what it sounds like.
That's exactly right.
All right, thanks so much to all of our speakers today. We're so glad to be part of such a wonderful event again this year.
Yes, we are. Every year seems like it gets even more exciting. And now the time has come to award our last distinction of the day. The Sam H. Jones Best of the Best Award. It is named in honor of the Indianapolis Urban League's first president, a tireless advocate for peace, justice, and racial understanding, Sam Jones.
Yeah, the recipient of this award is recognized for exemplary performance in all aspects of diversity. And to be considered for this honor, an individual must embody all of the characteristics from both the Diversity in Leadership and Diversity in Workforce Awards.
In a recent Best Places to Work survey, we actually learned that 86% of this winner's employees said that their employer enables a culture of diversity. In 2020, this organization deployed a One Company, One Culture action plan to strengthen their workplace culture while maintaining focus on their customers. The award recipient has developed a diversity and inclusion team that implemented several initiatives to also promote employee engagement and belonging through the pandemic. And their president and CEO acts as the chair of the Business Equity for Indy Committee.
All right, so last but certainly not least, this year's winner of the Sam H. Jones Best of the Best Award is Citizens Energy Group.
Right now, we want to hear from Citizens Energy Group's president and CEO, Jeffrey Harrison, to accept this award. Jeffrey, congratulations.
On behalf of everyone at Citizens Energy Group, I would like to express our great appreciation for being recognized with the Sam H. Jones Best of the Best Award. Receiving this award is a great honor because it recognizes exemplary performance in all aspects of diversity. At Citizens, diversity is one of our 5 core values that guide everything we do. Making diversity and inclusion key elements of our culture have made Citizens a better place to work and a better company for serving the people of Central Indiana. Forming diverse cross-functional teams has increased employee engagement and innovation to ensure we are always striving to produce outstanding results for our customers and communities. At Citizens, we also believe we must be a leader in promoting diversity and inclusion in our community. For example, Our comprehensive supplier diversity program that is providing business opportunities for minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses is adding value to our organization while strengthening the local economy. And every year, our employees and business partners come together to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by renovating an Indy Parks facility. Since October of 2020, I have been honored to lead the Business Equity for Indy initiative, a joint venture of the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership and the Indy Chamber in collaboration with the Indianapolis Urban League. Business Equity for Indy is bringing together a diverse group of business leaders to foster a fairer and more inclusive future for the city's Black population and other peoples of color. Other members of the Citizens team also are supporting the Business Equity for Indy effort because we believe that our success as a public trust serving Greater Indianapolis depends on diversity in our workforce, business partners, and communities. So thank you again for honoring Citizens with the Sam H. Jones Best of the Best Award.
All right, again, congratulations to Jeffrey and to the entire Citizens Energy Group on being named this year's Best of the Best Award winner. Now that all of our award winners have been announced, we want to invite our final speakers, Alan Bacon and Melina Simone, co-founders of the cultural development firm Gang Gang, to speak. Gang Gang works to promote and invest in culture entrepreneurs with the mission of making the creative economy more equitable. Melina, Alan, the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Alan Bacon.
And I'm Molly Jeffers, and we are the co-founders of Gang Gang. Gang Gang is a cultural development firm on a mission to produce, promote, and preserve culture in cities.
We are appreciative of the invitation from the Mayor's Diversity Awards Committee to address you today. It's always a wonderful occasion to talk about and celebrate diversity. And today we're going to share with you our top 3 reasons why culture and celebrating diversity are important and necessary for progress. Number 1, culture makes racism harder. If everything 2020 was about what separates us, whether it was the health pandemic or the racial pandemic, Gang Gang believes that culture and celebrating diversity is what's going to bring humanity back together.
Humanity comes together through music, poetry, and literature, food, dancing, design, architecture, and storytelling. Think of other major cities across the country, whether it's LA, Austin, Nashville, or New York, Atlanta. These cities lead with culture. They lead with food and music, art and film. They understand the importance of diversity, and they celebrate diversity just like we're doing here today. It's no coincidence that cities that promote and celebrate diversity and culture are also some of the most inclusive cities in our nation.
Number 2, culture should be celebrated because when you celebrate culture, you're celebrating people. And doing work in the diversity space is hard work. Doing work in the diversity space during 2020, that's harder work. So congratulations to all the nominees and winners tonight. I mean, your service, your dedication, and your commitment to diversity should be celebrated. And this is also a very proud day for Indianapolis. I mean, our city coming together in this fashion for this purpose is special and should be commended as well.
This nominating class of 2021 has arguably done the most important work in the history of these awards. The work of our nominees today occurred in one of the most racially tumultuous time periods in the history of our nation. You did this work during a civil rights movement that will define a generation. What a tall and laborious task, but you answered the call and you helped to make Indianapolis a better place in the process.
Yeah, it's also Indianapolis is a better place at bringing up my...
What is that?
Oh, this is...
Is that your Mayor's Diversity Award from 2014?
Oh, yeah. This is a time that we should celebrate.
Nope. Today is about them. Today is not about your award.
Okay, well, this is not about inclusion either. That's what it's not about, really.
Number 3. Culture is key to changing our city. A proud moment for Gang Gang this year was during Indianapolis hosting March Madness. Gang Gang was selected to be the creative directors of Swish, which was the performance component of the art festival. We led curation for over 260 performances impacting over 600 Indianapolis-based artists. Our artists were so diverse with so many different genres of music, people, and music disciplines. It was beautiful to see.
Yeah, and you're also doing culture work within your diversity work. I mean, the work that you're doing is helping Indianapolis to be more inclusive, equitable, and more welcoming.
You are the key to changing our city, people of culture. Congratulations to the award winners tonight. Thank you for representing what's awesome about Indianapolis. And to the institutions, keep going, keep pushing. Let's strive for a better city.
Thank you all.
Melina and Alan, thank you so very much. We would again like to thank all of our speakers, all of our sponsors. Because of you, you made today not only possible, but informative, enlightening, and inspiring.
Yes.
If today's event inspired you too, if you're watching to take action, please check out the resources on the slides following today's event. We would also like for all of you to remember that even after the conclusion of today's event, you, all of us, can continue to donate to Project Indy. All you have to do is go to employeindy.org/donate and select Project Indy.
Always a lot of fun to be with all of you, even if it is virtual again this year. Hope to see you again in person soon. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you again for attending the 20th Annual Mayor's Celebration of Diversity.
Thank you. See you guys soon.